Hey class, I'm super excited to start this educational journey of learning about criminal justice. Just a year ago, I was working in the system as a victim advocate, providing my support to victims of all serious crimes. If you're interested, I can share my story with you. Vote by clicking on this link to the poll. I'll show you what the poll looks like right now. So the poll looks like this, and you're going to answer yes or no, and then you'll see the results later if I have a presentation on what I used to do. But let's continue. So, this week is going to be on what is criminal justice. Today, we will examine the history of crime, analyze changes in the American criminal justice system, and discuss justice within the system so that you can start to apply what you've learned in class to major issues in criminal justice today. You know you have it when you can identify terms and concepts of the criminal justice system to current events in society. So, are you ready to start exploring the American criminal justice system? First, let's watch this video to get your minds thinking.
It might not surprise you to learn that the literal definition of crime is the violation of criminal laws. And the FBI's Uniform Crime Report, a major source of data on crime in the US, tracks many different kinds of crime. There are crimes against the person, which include murder, aggravated assault, rape, and robbery, and crimes against property, which include burglary, larceny theft, auto theft, and arson. But there's also a third kind of crime, not generally tracked in major crime indices, often called victimless crimes. They include things like illegal drug use, prostitution, and gambling. But the name is misleading because many of these cases have serious negative consequences for the people involved. Data from the FBI show that in the US in 2015, there were about 1.2 million violent crimes and about 8 million property crimes. Raw numbers aren't terribly helpful, though, so we can turn these into crime rates. In the case of 2015, that would be 372.6 violent crimes per 100,000 people and 2,487 property crimes per 100,000 people. Those numbers are about half what they were in 1991, when crime rates peaked after a steady upward trend from about 1960. These numbers allow for some useful comparisons, but it's important to realize that they can't capture the whole picture. Because crime statistics are based on police reports, so they only include crimes that are reported to the police, and not all crimes are reported. So researchers sometimes conduct victimization surveys, which ask representative samples of the population if they have had any experiences with crime. And one such survey from 2015 suggests that fewer than half, about 47% of violent crimes were reported to police, and just 35% of property crimes were. So what can we say about who's committing these crimes? Well, based on government data, sociologists have put together a kind of demographic picture, but it only shows us who's being arrested for crime, not necessarily who's committing it. To begin with, the average arrestee is young and male. People between the ages of 15 and 24 make up about 14% of the population, but accounted for 31.8% of all arrests in 2015. And while men are about half the population, they made up about 62% of arrests for property crimes and 80% of arrests for violent crimes.
All right, guys, I'm sorry to stop it there, but we have to keep on going. I'll keep the link on Class Dojo so you can continue watching on your free time. But what is crime? Why does one commit a crime? I know she just explained it a little bit, but I want you to take a moment and think about these questions. First, let's define crime. The federal government defines crime as an action or omission that constitutes an offense that may be prosecuted by the state and is punishable by law. What do you think the pros and cons are of this definition? Do you think this definition is fair? Or how do you think it should be defined, and why? Take a moment and think about those questions. The criminal justice system in America is very powerful. The agencies of the justice system have the authority to arrest, to convict, and to imprison. All right, guys, to learn more, click on the next video, and I will see you soon.